veteran. And now I'm pleased to introduce you another veteran of the commitment and the fight for preventing missing children and combating missing children in Europe is Her Excellency Marie-Louise Preika, former President of Malta and now President of Eurochild. Dear Maria-Louise, you are so welcome.
Thank you so much, Anna Maria. President, dear Maud, really I'm so pleased to be with you today with such a distinguished lineup. Well, we know that around the world an estimated 8 million children are reported missing each year. Children who are completely lost to everyone. Children who are victims of diverse situations, as we have already heard: wars, conflict, persecution, poverty, environmental degradation, climate change, and all sorts of inequalities. Situations which are not created by children. What a true loss to the world's potential. These 8 million children that go missing each year is evidence, to me at least, of the lack of effective protection systems across the world and the fallout to our commitments as an international community to safeguard children's human rights. As we commemorate International Missing Children's Day today, the 25th of May, I would like to commend Italy for being one of the 29 countries across 5 continents which are members of the Global Missing Children's Network. The Global Missing Children's Network is a very important network that brings together like-minded professionals working in the field of child protection and offers them access to a network of specialists and international experts with a goal of uniting the global community to find missing children. I would like to take this opportunity to urge other countries to join this important international network that aims at coordinating and building global awareness of issues regarding missing and abducted children, and also providing access to a global database of missing children. Remembering our commitment as an international community to the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, which we all know that it is the most widely ratified convention in the world, to me and all those that have children at heart, it is astonishing that not all countries are part of this international network. I would like, therefore, to commend Professor Ernesto Caffon as president of SOS Telefono Azzurro Onlus for keeping alive this annual appointment to give visibility to this horrendous phenomenon of children going missing in the world. I must also commend Telefono Azzurro for its work in promoting total respect for the rights of children. We know that the wars create an emergency setting, and therefore we know that the issue of missing children as a consequence of war has been with us for centuries. As Europeans, now that we are in our lifetime experiencing another horrendous war in our continent, we know that we cannot continue to be partially oblivious to the issues of missing children. The Ukrainian war has particularly aggravated the situations of uncertainty, instability, risk, and danger for children. Half of all Ukrainian children have moved out of their country, while most of all children still in Ukraine are displaced. The risks and dangers for Ukrainian children are unimaginable. This crisis created by the war is jeopardizing not only their future, but is jeopardizing their very own lives. We hear of horrendous stories of what is happening in Ukraine. We hear of how children are sent across borders, even unaccompanied, to save their very lives. We hear that many civil society organizations are on the ground to giving support and assistance. However, governments need to step up their protection systems to be able to secure the safety of Ukrainian children and all migrant children that reach European soil. Excuse me. Authorities must look further than securing basic material needs where children are concerned. We need harmonized registration and protection systems to ensure that all possible deterrents are in place so that no child will go missing. We at Eurochild know firsthand from civil society organizations on the ground through our initiative of the Open sessions for solidarity, that more effective and harmonized registration and protection systems are urgently needed. It is common knowledge that in the context of war, children are very likely to be exposed to serious short and long-term consequences, such as the risk of trafficking and exploitation. Missing Children Europe reports that the war on Ukraine has led to more than 6 million Ukrainians, mainly women and children, seeking refuge abroad, putting them at risk of separation and worse still, of going missing. Research and analysis are showing that children with physical or mental disabilities are significantly more vulnerable to being abducted or to being the victim of physical and/or sexual abuse. Research also shows that children with disabilities are nearly 3 times more likely than children without disabilities to be sexually abused. And here I would like to join Maud in congratulating the European institutions for enacting this legislation, and we do hope that we can see a robust implementation and enforcing situation. The most vulnerable are children who have intellectual disabilities or mental health challenges, who are nearly 5 times more likely to be the victim of sexual abuse. Sexual predators may target children with intellectual or physical disabilities. Adult predators will often prey on children who appear weaker or more vulnerable, which could lead them to target children who have mental or physical disabilities. Another community of children who are most vulnerable are migrant and asylum-seeking children. Half of the world's migrants are children. This puts much further responsibility on all of us, including governments, to step up their protection systems to ensure that no children go missing in migration. It is an understatement to say that children in migration are more vulnerable than adults, particularly when they are unaccompanied. We all know that their vulnerability makes them more exposed to violence, exploitation, and trafficking, as well as more likely to be physically, psychologically, and sexually abused. The UN Convention on the Rights of the Child obliges states to protect children from violence, exploitation, and abuse. Nevertheless, although all European states have ratified this important convention, many of the children coming to the European countries or to seek international protection, alone or with their families, are not sufficiently protected. Article 3 of the Convention, as well as Article 24 of the EU Charter of Fundamental Rights, require authorities to take due account of the best interest of the child, which must be a primary consideration and directions. In 2020, nearly 14,000 asylum applicants in the EU member states were considered to be unaccompanied children. Unaccompanied children accounted for 10% of all asylum applicants aged less than 18 years in the EU in 2020. This is also a gendered situation, as the majority, that is 88% of unaccompanied migrant and asylum-seeking children, were males. Well, Missing Children Europe, and Maud can report much more on this, of course, reports that between 2018 and 2020, more than 18,000 children in migration went missing in Europe. In December 2021, over 70 participants gathered for the 5th edition of the Lost in Migration Conference, entitled A Seat at the Table, Young Newcomers Driving Discussions on Going Missing in Migration. This is a conference in a series of conferences which started in Malta in 2017, led by Missing Children Europe and the Malta Foundation for the Wellbeing of Society. For the first time, the conference was shaped and led by young refugees and migrants themselves. Prior to the event, in-person local hubs across European cities connected young people and key stakeholders to discuss the challenges faced by children in migration and at risk of going missing, and to also identify potential solutions. The final online conference brought together high-level European and national policymakers, civil society organizations, and young migrant children and young persons. They discussed the challenges raised by children and the young persons in the local hubs, and recommendations for the future. I will summarize some of the recommendations emanating from this conference, as I think it is important to bring here the voice of young migrants and migrant children who experienced the treacherous journey firsthand, and some even experiencing their friends' disappearance. The recommendations included the need for EU institutions and member states, including local authorities, to ensure that an effective and strong registration system is present at the borders, to ensure that children in migration are provided with opportunities to share their experiences and to be translated into policy and legislative responses through child participation platforms, to ensure equal and non-discriminative access to services, including community-based reception, in line with the provisions of Reception Conditions Directive and the EU Charter on Fundamental Rights, to stop displaced individuals from entering the European Union and forcibly returning them to neighboring or third countries which are in violation of the right to asylum, to ensure that children in migration are not subject to abuse and violence by law enforcement and border authorities, to ensure access to child-friendly information in line with language needs of children in migration, including through digital tools and the training of the necessary professionals, to ensure smooth transition to adulthood for children in migration, with a particular focus on access to services, including care leaver services and financial support, irrespective of resident status, to ensure a secure resident status for children in migration, that the EU and national funds are not used to violate human rights, and to ensure that children are never placed in detention. The provision of all necessary means to protect children in migration from trafficking, sexual and labor exploitation, and other criminal activities. To ensure the collection of data on children migration going missing, and ensure cross-border case management services and information sharing between national child protection systems. The conference also suggested that the EU institutions should update the EU legal framework to ensure children in migration have access to a legal guardian and free legal assistance, to develop a transparent operational framework for transnational procedures at EU level, including family reunion and relocation, and to appoint an EU relocation coordinator to facilitate relocations across the European Union. Finally, I would like to remind that today, the 25th May, is also Africa Day. I can't help thinking not only of the African migrant children who go missing on our soil in Europe, but also of all those children who went missing in our waters, nearly on our shores. International Missing Children's Day should be an opportunity for all of us and all stakeholders, including our governments, to be determined and more resolved to put in place all that is needed to protect and safeguard children's human rights at all costs. This is the only way to ensure that no child, whoever they might be, and from wherever they might come, will go missing, either in our waters or on our soils. Thank you.
Dear Maria-Louise Colero-Preika, thank you so much for your personal commitment and the commitment of your child on children. Especially, I would like to thank you for having highlighted also the need for ad hoc care for vulnerable children, like children with disabilities and children on the move, unaccompanied minors. We much look forward to continue to work with you.